Okay. I think most of you have joined. Well, all of you have joined, and most of them, those who want to participate, have joined. So, will you share the recording, the slides? Yes, of course, we will share the recording, not necessarily the slides. You can have the slides when you ask for them, but we will share the recording on our YouTube channel, and all those who subscribed to the webinar and were not able to join, everybody that subscribed to the webinar will get a mail with the link. And otherwise, you can go to the YouTube channel as always with our webinars. So I hate waiting. That's my problem. That's why I'm so impatient. I will start very, very slowly, giving other participants the time to join. So today's topic is agentic test execution versus scripted test automation. And what I want to present today is a decision framework when you can decide what is better, use an AI to execute test cases or use an AI to write the scripts. We will dive into that in a moment. Maybe I should start presenting myself. There are still participants joining. Don't worry, we haven't really started yet. I'm just talking to avoid the silence. So, as I'm waiting because the number of participants is getting up all the time. So it was only a local minimum. Okay, my name is Anne. I work for Smart Testing as a global customer success manager, meaning I'm taking care of our customers for one of our products, our test design tool, Yesta. And global means, well, it meant everything but France, every country but France, because as you may hear, I'm German. I'm located near Nuremberg in Germany. And Smart Testing is a French company, and initially the idea was that I will be in charge of our German and English-speaking customers. Well, I'm still in charge of our German and English-speaking customers, but today global means even France, because I also dealing with some French customers. I'm also in charge of our training activities. We have one training, which is now the ISTQB City Gen AI course, testing with generative AI. And this course was born at Smart Testing, because the first version of a course, Accelerate Your Testing Processes with Generative AI, was issued by Smart Testing, and then the ISTQB took this course more or less over. And there is still a huge similarity between the initial course and the ISTQB course. We're just giving this one course, but we have partners and we have external trainers, and I'm in charge of organizing this, and that's why I have this nice title, Head of Training. Today, I do not want to speak about the training. I do not want to speak about our visual test design tool, Yesta, and the underlying methodology. Today's topic is agentic AI. And this is, of course, one of the hottest topics today, nowadays. And I want to have a look at one very specific aspect, how you can use agents in testing, and this is to execute manual test cases. That's what we mean by agentic test execution versus scripted test automation. Because we have a bold claim. We say that functional UI tests or graphical UI tests can nowadays be executed automatically without a script, without scripting any source line of code, without writing any single line of automation code. And this is, well, this is what we want to prove with our newest product, which is called Linker. which is exactly that, an agent that executes manual test cases. But let's begin with the beginning. What is agentic test execution? That's my first topic. I will then tell a little bit about the two different approaches, when to take which approach, either take an agent to execute manual test cases, or to take the well-known test automation process as we have had it in the past. Also augmented with AI, because nobody wants to code anymore a single line of code without using a copilot. I will present this decision matrix, which gave the subtitle of the webinar, when to use which approach, and I will share a link with you where you can try your own in your own context and try to find which approach is best for you. This is part 3, and then we will have the conclusions and, of course, questions. If you have questions, please ask them. You can also ask them in the chat. I'm just trying to have the chat in parallel to my slides, at least the preview of the next slide. Sorry, I'm struggling a little bit. Okay, now it should be fine. So in a nutshell, what is the problem? The problem is time. Most of the time is the problem. When we are working in an agile environment, we have our iterations, calls them sprints, and for the manual tester, this is a continuous race to reach the sprint goal. We learn about what to do within the sprint. The developers will develop it, but we are currently a little bit behind because we have to know what the system will look like. We are constantly operating at our limits. We have no time to stop to refactor our test cases, or sometimes even not to provide feedback. When we find bugs, then we will have to inform the developers about the bugs. But if we find just some improvement ideas, then we will probably not give them the highest priority because of this lack of time. Test automation has a different issue. Test automation also takes time because we have to write the scripts. And for the scripts, it's the same as for the manual testers. And even to test the script, we need the system under test, or at least the simulator. And then we have another problem when we have test automation, especially in smaller organizations where there are no dedicated roles. You're a test automation engineer and you are the developer of the product. It's the same person. Persons, and then this same person has to develop the product and to develop the test scripts. Well, which one has higher priority? Test-driven development tries to fix that because it gives higher priority to writing the unit tests. But I have to say, I quite often see that test automation is usually at least one sprint behind, because first you deliver the functionality, then you deliver the automated test scripts. That's not necessarily true for unit tests, but it is true for integration tests and system tests. Unit tests developers, they have it in their tasks for the sprint, and it's part of the definition of done, not necessarily the system tests and the integration tests. So what about the agentic test execution? The idea of agentic test execution is that we have now the possibility that an AI agent can go to the internet, can click on buttons, can make screenshots, can read information from files or write to files. Agents have access to tools. They have memory and they can do actions as a human would do. When we have agentic test execution, we take our manual test scripts. manual test scripts, or maybe written in Gherkin test cases, but they can be just natural language X-ray test cases. I take X-ray as an example because, first of all, this is a quite popular test management tool, as it is integrated in Jira, but of course also because our product Linker integrates pretty well with X-ray. So the input is natural language, or pseudo-natural language, as in Gherkin test cases. The agent will take these test cases, and if the manual tester is able to understand what is meant by the script, then the LLM behind, which is part of the agent, will also be able to understand it. We'll take a screenshot of the UI it sees, the graphical UI it sees, and if the text field, the input field where I have to enter the text has the correct label, then the agent will find it. And if it does not have the correct label, the manual stress tester will struggle too. As an output, I get the screenshots, of course, what the agent saw. I get a pass-fail verdict, and I get the rationale why it thinks that everything is okay or that there was an error. That's the new approach, which has become possible with all those browser use agents for 2 years now. That's a topic, and now it's really becoming a stable, usable way of executing tests. On the other hand, we have AI-assisted scripting. And I called it AI-assisted scripting, as I said, test automation. We write code, but we write them nowadays with vibe coding, or at least with some help from my friend, the AI copilot, that helps me writing the scripts. So the input for these tests is rather code, or Gherkin, or maybe test specifications, which I put into the chatbot, the AI copilot. Well, it's an agent tool because it writes scripts, and as an output, I get scripts that are more or less maintainable for the framework of your choice. So this approach is well known. To dive a bit deeper into the anatomy of an UI, graphical UI test execution agent, we have still the humans here. We have our GUI agent, and in the core element of this GUI agent is the vision language model. It's a large language model that has also been trained on pictures. So it is able to analyze pictures, not able to generate pictures, but to analyze them. I have a reasoning model that can plan the actions, and I have my execution layer, which is the link to all these necessary actions I have to perform when I want to go on a website, or well, Linker at the moment is only websites, but in the future it will be also fat client executables, application, desktop applications, and probably also mobile. Theoretically, that's possible. And here to the right, system under test, where you enter your maybe your password, you connect, and then you do some actions, and then you print a report, whatever you want to do. Of course, you do not want to send your username, and especially not your password to the agent, to the LLM. So there should be some mechanism, and there is some mechanism that only sends placeholders to the LLM, and that only at execution, these sensitive data are replaced by their concrete values. So that's the idea. And this is the name, Linker. Yeah, please keep in mind it's called Linker, not LinkQA or anything else. It's Linker, like the links, because our smart testing, as I said, is a French tool vendor. It's a smaller company which is located at Besançon. Besançon is in the French Jura, and the links is a very popular protected animal in that region, so we are rather local, and this gave rise to this very nice logo and the nice name of Linker. So if I can show you a small demo of Linker, of course, but that's not really the topic of the talk. I just want to show you I'm looking for the good just showing you the demonstrator. This is the input. You have the natural language text. So in this case, I'm going on the website of Smart Testing, and I'm looking for an ebook, and I'm looking, verifying that it has been executed. It has been published on a certain data. And if I look at the execution history, then I take this one. I did several trials. Then you see here the results. So what Linker does, it takes the text in the resources drop-down list, select ebooks. So the first thing is it rejected the cookies. It had even to reject several cookies. Then it clicked on the resources drop-down list. It selected ebooks. You can see it provides screenshots of what it saw, and that's quite important. It had to scroll down because you do not see the ebook number 1, which is the one I'm asking for, is not the most recent one. So it has to scroll down to see the download link here. And here to the right, you get the expected results with one screenshot that you can save into X-ray. The others stay in Linker. And when I want to download it, it pressed the download button here, and then it checked the ebook state. And for example, it says that the publication date corresponds to November 28th, but it also tells me that the format is not the same. So that there was an assumption that it is not exactly the same format, that only the date is important. So just to give you an idea of how it works, and as I said, it is integrated into X-ray. In X-ray, you can just take your X-ray test case and then you run it. It has a button. Where's my test case here? And you have to go to the test execution. So X-ray is a little bit more complicated to show. Let me go back to my slide. Because the question in this webinar is not so much do publicity for the product, even if that is, of course, also a bit a good thing to do. But the question is, if we can do that, and if we have still a lot of manual tests, I don't know, do you have whether you still have manual tests? But I guess because we did a survey with our customers and also beyond our customers, and we found out that around about 80% of test cases are still manual, and this is quite a lot. And why are they still manual? Because it's either too laborious to automate them, or not possible, or I do not have the framework. So there's, or I do not execute them often enough so that it is worth automating them. But if we have now the possibility to use an agent to execute manual tests, why should I write automated test scripts at all? That's the next question. Why should I automate at all? But that's there are good reasons for test automation too. And for example, test automation is faster. It is more reproducible. An agent is always with an LLM. It's hard, and LLMs, as we know, are non-deterministic. So we will not necessarily always get the same explanation, and maybe even not always the same result. And therefore, we have to check the test results. And but that's for regression testing, for example. If we want to run tests. Each time I do a commit in my source code, then test automation makes sense. So when should I use which approach? And well, the two approaches have different strengths. The first one is the level of technical knowledge you must have to use it, which is pretty low when we talk about agentic test execution. because the primary users of such an AI agent, such as Linker, are functional quality analysts, test analysts. They have a very, very good domain knowledge, but maybe no coding knowledge, programming knowledge at all. For test automation, I need a test automation engineer with programming skills. Agentic test execution can be integrated into a CI/CD pipeline via API or via an X-ray integration. But I have to admit that this is one point that speaks for AI-assisted scripting, because the integration is native. It's pretty simple and probably already done in your context. Maintenance in agentic test execution, as I do not have to tell the agent which locator, how the button is called very precisely, and so on. I can focus on test data and business rules. I do not have any code to maintain, because there is no code written by you, at least. Whereas in AI-assisted scripting, I have code to maintain. Then, on the other hand, I also have the AI co-pilot to help me and assist me with changing the scripts. There's a lot of buzz around self-healing scripts, but I heard also a lot of pointed voices that said that the script is healed, but only the expected result was changed and not the script itself, and that you really have to be very careful on what is happening. Execution time is, of course, faster when with AI-assisted scripting. It is very fast and scalable. My test execution, I did not execute it. My test case, I just showed you the results, but it is slower. It is supportable, but it is slower. And but it scales. You can execute several test cases in parallel, and while you are in a meeting. So it is not necessarily the most important topic, but it has to be considered. So I have a rule of thumb, which is a sort of the qualitative decision. It's not a matrix, it's just a rule of thumb, which is that AI-assisted scripting, I start with the right side, is best for regression test suites that are running in a CI/CD pipeline. Because this is fully automated. You have the framework, suppose you have the test automation framework. That's a precondition. If you don't have a test automation framework already established, then of course you should look at agentic test execution, because you are all the time dealing with manual test cases, and if you already have them, or if you can easily generate them using Gen AI, then you can use the AI agent to execute them. So it's best for in-sprint validation if I want to see rapidly whether the new feature is going into the good direction, whether my test case is okay, because I also have to check the test case before I automate it. So as a rule of thumb, for the very repetitive CI/CD pipeline, use the test scripts. For just checking something rapidly, use agentic test execution. Well, I talked about a decision matrix, and this one is more quantitative. So we have 4 parameters to consider. The first time is time to execution. How much time do I have between the moment the test case is created and the moment I need the test result? If this time is short, well, I will explain the 4 dimensions in a moment. But just if this time is short, then the agents are better. If you have enough time, then you may also do the automation. The second is, of course, how often do you execute the test case? What is the expected number of test runs, for example, per sprint? The third category, or third dimension of my metrics, is how stable is the UI? Because an unstable UI is causing more problems for test automation than a stable one. And the last one is the Oracle strictness. how important is it that it is exactly done a certain way and that the result is exactly checked that way and that the label is exactly named like in the test case. So this is usually related to domain specific requirements. If we look at the dimensions in more in detail, when we want to have the test result as soon as we have the test case, then agentic test execution is the best way to execute it. If I have stable tests that are reused at a scale and the results are, I have a bit of time to write the scripts, then we can consider AI-assisted scripting. If I only execute my test case from time to time, let's say once or twice in a sprint, and then sometimes in the middle, and then formally once in at the end, then the agent is good. Agentic test execution is good. If I do it every time a developer clicks on commit or check in, if I run my tests every night, then of course it's much better to go for AI scripting. If my UI is highly volatile, the labels change name, the buttons are moving from top from the bottom left to the bottom right, or are moving on, changing locators, redesigned, refactored using AI, for example. I have new screens. I have variants to test, variant A versus variant B. It's difficult to write scripts. Then the agent is better. That's one of the most important criteria, I think. If your UI is stable for months and you're just checking that nothing is broken, then okay, for scripting. And the last one is the Oracle strictness. So if it's okay, whether the Oracle, it looks fine. Yeah. Also, if the test cases are rather vague, then the agent is perfect, because the agent can deal with vague tests. It will find out what happens when you click here, and even maybe try several ways before it comes to the result. If it is extremely important that no cookie window pops up and in the middle of what you're doing, and then you need a really strict Oracle. And then you better go for scripting, because scripting will fail when an unexpected dialog pops up, and it will also fail if the button is not named correctly or not, or the locator has changed. Yeah, let's try. I'll give you the link to the simulator I promised. Just trying to find the right windows here. Okay, you should have in the chat. I sent it to all participants, so you should see this link in the chat. Hopefully, it works for you. And because we wanted to give a little bit the possibility to try in your own context. But let me explain the examples that are already predefined here. So if we have a new feature developed in the current sprint, then we want to, you didn't get the link? Okay, you see the chat? Yes, but it is empty. Okay. Let me try again. This time. Okay. Okay, the default setting was not sent to everybody. Okay, a new feature developed in the current sprint. A new feature developed in the current sprint means I want to know rather rapidly whether it works or not. So time to execution is rather immediate. And you find here in the drop-down list 3 values. The 2 values I already explained. And you have to decide whether it's more immediately or more deferred. And if you are struggling to decide, you can also check not relevant. Execution cadence for this new feature for the moment is low because I just wanted to check. UI stability is also low. And the Oracle strictness at the moment is still interpretive. So the computed recommendation is that you should use the AI agent. For a heuristic UI check, a heuristic already says that I'm doing that ad hoc. Same, we have immediate time to execution, low execution cadence. The UI stability is not relevant because I want to check this UI, and the Oracle strictness is also more interpretive. I'm not going for the very formal tests. So same for the agent. But this check-in smoke test, time to execution, well, it's not relevant because of course, I want to have the results immediately, but it is the same test. The test case itself has been created quite a long while ago. Or maybe it's quite new. So I don't want to use this criterion, but even if you set it to immediate, okay, then you get, it depends. But I think it's more not relevant. But I'm executing it very, very often. UI stability may still be low because I'm doing check-ins all the time, and Oracle strictness is more strict because that's a quality gate. My check-in smoke test, so I don't want to let the agent pass some interpretations, and therefore I'm rather ending up with a scripted test automation, and so on. You can add new rows here to the top right and do it for yourself. Just let you try it a little bit. The link will remain available, and you may also share it as you want. It's just to illustrate a little bit this decision process. If you want to share some observations, then you have the chat. I think you can also send it to everybody or just to me. Okay, if you're fine, I would, because I have a little bit an eye on the time. I don't want to do a 1-hour webinar. I rather want to discuss with you. So maybe we go back to the slides. Hopefully you can see my slides again. If not, switch the screen because you have to look for the Zoom window to see my screen. So, in my opinion, this is the full decision tree at first starts with do you have an AI? Do you have an LLM available in your organization? Because as I see quite often in my trainings, that's not necessarily the case. So if you don't have an LLM, then I invite you to contact me or to go to our website to see our other product, Yester. If you have an LLM, the next question is, do you use Jira Cloud and X-Ray? And if yes, then you may go to the Atlassian Marketplace and try Linker for X-Ray. There are free credits, and you can just install it if you are allowed to in your environment, and just give it a try and build your own opinion whether it's usable or not in your context. If you don't have Jira Cloud and X-Ray, then the next question is, do you have an established test automation? If you don't have test automation, then scripted test automation is not really an option. So in that case, you should try Linker Dashboard. Linker Dashboard, you need the link also. I should add it to my slides, by the way. It is on the last page, but I'll share it with you here. It's not my test run, but just this one here. This is the link to Linker Dashboard. It's as I said on the last on my last slide. This allows you to try the agentic test execution without having Jira X-Ray. And the last question is, if you have test automation, then sometimes people say, well, I absolutely want to automate everything, but does it really justify, does the return on investment really justify the effort? If you have doubts, and if you think that maybe you could do both of them, then again, try Linker Dashboard. If it just think it justifies the effort, then don't pass by the advantages of using chatbots and generative AI. Get trained using AI. And well, I had fun just putting all our products on this slide. The ISTQB CityGen AI training is one possibility of getting trained, but of course there are also trainings, especially for developers that are using, for example, GitHub Copilot. So how do I compute the return on investment? This is a very difficult topic and factor, and I don't think we have time to talk about that. I would like to make that a second webinar. That's why I called it sneak preview. But what I can say is that there are 5 factors for the return on investment. Schedule is, of course, one. Maintenance, the cost of maintenance of test scripts is one. The time the quality you need and the staffing you have, whether you have enough developers or not, is a topic. And the execution is one, and there I also have a link. But this is really a preview. You may play around with, or you may wait for the webinar where I want to talk about return on invest. But I don't want to hide this second calculator from you. That's what my colleague Bruno Lejar started. Hopefully it's self-explaining. You put in which currency, how expensive your developers are, and so on. And you can play around a little bit, maybe not with the exact names and our rates, but just to get an idea of what the agent would cost and what the scripted test automation would cost. So, but again, hopefully I find the time to give a webinar in, I think it will probably be July or August, end of July or August for that. Okay, 40 minutes. We are reaching the conclusions. So hopefully I illustrated that agentic test execution is a new way of automating test cases based on the manual test case description. I think I hopefully also showed that this is not either this or that both the agentic and the scripted modes are useful. Advantages and disadvantages in that are different. I provided you with the decision matrix, which helps you decide which approach to use. And I also triggered a little bit the return on invest factors, that you should not just look at the time it takes to execute the test cases, for example. Are there questions? You can write your questions in the chat. Oh yeah, there are questions. Sorry, I have to scroll up. I guess results will depend on the LLM used. Is there recommended good LLMs? We have some comparisons on different LLM performance with Linka? Linka with Q, please. Yes. I'll start with that question. Yes, of course. The LLM performance or the LLM chosen has quite a lot of influence on the results. We measure that, we measure that using regression tests where we exactly know what we expect. And when we really established metrics, how to give a number on the quality of the results. I gave a talk at the it was not the A4Q testing summit. I gave a talk on that topic in the past, but I'm afraid it was in German, mixing up the languages. Claude Sonnet is providing very, very good results. We are also experimenting with fine-tuned smaller models so that it is easier to run them locally and really to host them themselves. It's a huge topic, huh? Currently, the idea is to have a Linka work with the LLM that you use, so it is using your environment yeah, as I said, we have to measure it. Then we have a second question. How does the reporting look like in Linka, the test execution reports? Well, the idea, the dashboard is just a demonstrator. And the true integration is an X-ray and XQual, I should say. Not only X-ray, also have a second partner, which is XQual. And we have an API that is allows you to integrate Linka everywhere. The report is done in the test management tool. So the report would look like the report in X-ray. I have a button in X-ray where I can save the results from Linka to X-ray, and from that moment on, the tester has said that this execution is okay. As a manual tester, he or she confirms that the results are okay, and then the results are saved to X-ray together with the last screenshot per step, and then they appear in the normal test execution report. Hopefully that has answered this question. How reliable is Linka test execution? Well, it's difficult to convince, but I have to say that's really, when you see that how good Linka works and how straightforward it scrolls down, looks for the information, goes up, and that is really convincing. But I can tell you everything. Try it. That's the best way to get an idea how reliable the test execution is. But again, we have these metrics. We are measuring not only one shot, we are measuring our metrics on a statistically relevant basis so that we can see that the test cases are really all the time passed, or all the time failed for the good reason. An agent can also say it fails, but for a completely different reason. So you really have to look at the test step. Was it the test step that that we expect the agent to fail? Okay, then we have, how do you ensure that the agentic created test scenarios are not repetitive? In scripting, there are often usage of repetitive method usage which overload the CI. So how do you avoid that? I'm not so sure whether I really completely understand the question. What I understand is that in scripting, you have too many tests, yeah? You overload the CI pipeline because you are running the tests and they are always calling the same method. I think that's quite similar with the agent. What the agent can do is an agent has memory, and an agent can recall what worked well last time and do it a bit more straightforward the second time. So this is an overload that is avoided. How do you test linker and ensure that it's working stable and reliable? I think I already answered that question with our dojo, like they call it, test dojo and regression test suites. We focus especially on those test suites that sometimes fail and sometimes pass, whereas they should always pass or should always fail. And we're looking at optimizing that they work well. In maintenance, you mentioned there is no code to maintain. That does mean we have to regenerate the automation. Well, there is no code. There is no automation when you use agentic test execution. We really have the manual test. We shouldn't hide that manual tests also require a little bit of maintenance, because they may describe the procedure in a wrong way if the procedure has changed. This maintenance you still have to do, and I recommend using Jest for that. But there is no code to maintain. The agent takes the screenshot of the graphical user interface, looks for the text field where to enter the text, does fill in the text, or fill in some text, clicks on submit. It just looks for the button that has the label submit. So no code to maintain because there is no code. Must the tests be written in a certain way to be executed correctly by a linker? No, but they should be understandable for manual testers. Manual testers should be able to find the correct fields and to understand what the idea of the verdict and of the test is. If this is given, then linker will do well too. If the tests are completely rubbish, then linker will struggle too. But anybody will, even the test automation engineers. What about security and sensitive data displayed in the UI? Data are processed by LLMs. Does linker can work fully on premise? Yes, linker will be is intended to be fully on premise. You should not have sensitive data in your test data. They should be anonymized, but that's maybe not always the case. I know, but that's a topic, a general topic then. If it's okay to treat them internally, then you do not have a problem because you can run the LLM on premise. It is only depending on X-ray, or can I use linker with other test management tools? As I said, we have the integration with X-ray. That's the most seamless integration we can propose, and the same with XQual, but XQual is not so popular. There is the possibility to call linker service. which allows you to do everything, but you have to call the service. So you have to write a little bit of code to integrate Linker into your tools. We are also working on trying to convince other test management tool vendors to work with us. But in a general way, there is an API that we propose that you may use. Okay, I do not see any questions. Have I answered all of your questions? Okay, I suppose that you raise your hand to say yes. If not, you should write in the chat if there are more questions. Okay, I gave you the link to the dashboard, the Linker dashboard, so that you can try. I gave you the link to the decision matrix calculator. I gave you a preview for this return on investor, and you have my contact information here. If you, I'm happy to connect with you on LinkedIn, or whatever way you want, by mail. I can even call me. It's a German phone number. Thank you for the nice comments. Okay, then let's stop. Thank you for attending. When I stop the webinar, you will get a link with some questions on how you found it. Please take the time to answer that, and hopefully we'll see back each other for the second one I want to do on the return on invest. Okay, then bye-bye.